Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 991. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
First things first, out of the way. Right now, we're recording this on Sunday, classic Sunday recording. But also, Warren, it is your birthday today, December 15th. Happy birthday to Warren.
Thank you. Thank you.
We forced you to get up and talk about Doctor Who on your birthday.
Yes, I was just bodily forced into my podcastatorium to talk about Doctor Who, my least favorite thing to do in the world.
I know. Yeah. I don't know how many times, Chris, you and I have recorded actual episodes on our birthdays, but it has happened. I know that.
Oh,
I know,
God, yeah.
Yeah, because we take no days off, folks. Well, we do kind of, but we do.
And in my advanced state of decrepitude, I really don't care about my birthday all that much, to be honest.
I know, right?
Another reminder of my age. Wonderful.
Well, Warren barely knows where he is anymore, so,
Who are you people?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't even know who you are anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I call the senile advantage.
It's wonderful. Yeah, I know, kids. This is going to be you. You think, oh, let's go from we're going to do this. We're going to fly to this island to have fun on our birthday. It's like, you know, I thought about like wanting to do something because, you know, Chris and I both turned 50 early next year. And and I thought about, you know what? Let's go to Mexico. I've never been like on a beach vacation before. Let's do that. And I realized, I don't want to do that. I just want to. Could I just sit at home like I did for my 18th birthday, get McDonald's, sit alone in my room, and watch 2001: A Space Odyssey for the first time? That was my 18th
is in your 50s.
birthday.
That's a plus, not a minus. You don't feel bad about it. You're like, this is great.
I know.
Well, I was missing out by doing this back then.
I know.
And now it's just a lot easier to lay your hands on drugs to watch that film as well.
I'm not going to comment one way or the other.
I don't know. Because what I also thought, because, you know, my birthday's February 3rd, in case anyone's wanting to give me birthday presents.
It's a little blatant, but all right. But I'm not going to make that claim, by the way, people.
It's also, send all your birthday parties to patreon.com/RadioFreeSkaro. No, because Warren's without a job and he needs money. He doesn't need money, not bad. Anyway,
wow, I'm getting
happy
dragged
birthday,
over
Warren.
the mud here.
Happy birthday, Warren. But like,
thank you.
My birthday is like a week before Gallifrey, and we reasoned that, you know, would I really enjoy a beach vacation? I like how I'm talking about my birthday on Warren's birthday, but
I was just about to say you're pretty much on brand. But okay,
I know,
keep going.
I know this is very egotistic, but like I'd be spending the whole week in Mexico, like freaking out about like the live show or something like that, like having, you know, so like I wouldn't enjoy it. So there's no point to it. So Warren, you're born you're born like right before Christmas, so like you have to. Would you go on a beach vacation for your birthday?
No, I couldn't care less about beaches.
Oh, okay, well, never mind that.
I never have. I'm not a beach guy. I'd go to a museum or something.
Yeah. Oh, well, go to a museum today or something.
Beach museum.
Yeah.
Does such a thing exist? That seems like very, very difficult. The tide keeps coming, washing artifacts out again.
Maybe
By the way,
maybe there's a museum dedicated to the Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello beach films.
I don't think I'd be going to that, to be honest with you. But I have to say, just as an aside here, speaking of artifacts, Indiana Jones: The Great Circle, great game. You not only get to find artifacts, but punch Nazis, and that's a lot of fun.
That's like a
I've
dream.
punched Nazis that I don't need to. I've got out of my way to punch them just to do it.
That's the best kind.
Mm-hmm.
The best kind. I'm glad you're enjoying that game, Warren. I know you're looking forward to that one.
It's good times. Good times.
I wish for your birthday that you play that game for at least 1 hour today.
Well, I did before this recording, so
it's already done. All right, good. It's your day. It's your day, Warren. Yep. Your special day. Thanks for sharing it with us, Warren.
La-di-da, in fact.
Special day. Birthday. On today's show, the banter section of this has been concluded. The Paul McGann and Sunny McGann interview from Chicago TARDIS is on this show. It's a fun interview. I liked it a lot. So I hope you enjoy it as well. Paul McGann is always fun to listen to. And there's these
He's good looking, even in audio form.
It's amazing. Warren. Paul McGann, and you will not believe this when you meet him in person. Paul McGann is
he was on one of our RFS live shows, so yes, I have met him.
But like right now, he is 65 years old, Paul McGann. You would not know that. You would not realize that Paul McGann is 65 years old, but he is 65 and he is smashing. Let me tell you, Paul McGann.
I like how your voice got a little low and a little more somber and a little more nighttime DJ.
He was a little flush around the cheeks, I think, as well.
I think I've interviewed him about 4 or 5 times. I've literally lost count. And every time I'm going, I am entranced by this man right now. Just like he's just, yeah. You people who have only seen him on stage, you know nothing unless you're sitting right by him and he looks right at you.
Is he the most handsome Doctor Who, or is Tennant, or is Ncuti Gatwa? That's a strong 3-way contest.
Really is. It really. I mean, I think Paul McGann was probably like. Remember the McGann Estrogen Brigade back in the day when like,
vaguely, yes.
Oh, there's like female fans of Doctor Who. We stood up and wondered in 1996, and yeah, it's still there. Some 30 years on, still there. Paul McGann.
Well, he's still delivering the goods, so yeah.
Still got it. We talk about his coat early on. So there's a teaser. We also talk about penicillin and podcasts. We'll talk about that a little after because he narrates
because
some
podcasts are the infection.
I know.
Penicillin is the cure.
Oh, I know, but he dropped some exclusives and nuggets of what's to come in his podcast world in that interview, which I will not spoil here. We'll talk about it after the interview. But so anyway, that's fun. Him and Sunny McGann are there too. So Sunny, we should disparage him in any way because he's there too. It was a great conversation, father and son on stage, Chicago TARDIS with me. Later on in this very episode of Radio Free Skaro, the Doctor Who podcast you've been listening to for the past 6.5 minutes and for the last 18 plus years. So, Gallifrey One is coming, kids. Did you know that? You should, because we talk about it all the time because it's the greatest convention on Earth, and they announced even more guests this past week. Mark Shepard, he of Impossible Astronaut Day of the Moon fame, is making his return to Gallifrey One after 10 years away. He is coming back. Kate Herron.
It's been 10 years?
It's been 10 years. 10 years. I know.
Obviously, he had a huge health scare.
He did.
Last year, 2022.
Was that what it was? Yeah.
He's doing a hell of a lot better, obviously. But how's it? Wow, 10 years.
10 years now. Yeah, he'll be in the dealer's room signing on Saturday and Sunday. Kate Herron and Bryony Redman, co-writers of Doctor Who Rogue, the episode Rogue from this past season of Doctor Who, they're going to be there. Julie Ann Robinson, she directed Boom. Pretty cool. It's going to be there as well. She lives in California, so it's like, oh, you just drive down. Scott Hancock and Jodie Hauser also announced as part of this latest batch of guests for Gallifrey One, which we're 2 months away, basically, from today, December 15th.
And there will still be more announcements yet to come.
There will still be some more announcements even then. To join, like sometimes I have to like, okay, so who? Because they're doing it great this year. How they announce them and
stagger them
when they get them, and it's like Jenna Coleman, Catherine Tate, Stephen Moffat, Julie Carter, Joel Collins, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy. I'm not gonna read them all, but like just like, oh my god, with them too. So it's just an astounding lineup. So tickets still available, GallifreyOne.com. So please go there. Please come to this wonderful convention. Especially if you're in the States and maybe you want a bit of a Doctor Who group hug that weekend for whatever reason.
Not just the States.
Yeah, exactly.
You can hand deliver your birthday presents to Stephen.
And Warren said, well,
no, I don't care. Stephen clearly does.
I don't care.
Especially on my birthday. So
I don't want to have to bring stuff back I don't want to have to check a bag. Don't bring me anything.
25% tariffs on gifts.
That's true. There might be tariffs on gifts and stuff. So gifts too. GIFs.
There's probably tariffs on gifts. That's how stupid things are.
Yeah. So, but for one weekend in a hotel basement, somehow it'll be the greatest place on earth. And you think it sounds silly, but it's 100% true. This is going to be our 16th Gallifrey One or 15th?
Something like that, yeah.
I've lost count because you're one ahead of Warren and I.
That's right, because I went in 2022. That's right, yeah.
Interesting how a disease kept us away, but incipient fascism may not. Right? I don't know what that says about us, one way or the other.
I don't know, but it's going to be
probably the early days of the fascism. It may not be in full swing yet.
It was full peak of COVID, though, so.
That's true. You know what else is happening in 10 days? Doctor Who. There's a new Doctor Who episode coming. And Joy to the World, of course, the Doctor Who Christmas special at 5:10 on BBC One and Disney Plus. Everywhere. It's dropping at the same time. It's not none of this midnight stuff. And Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat, we talked about the photo shoot last week for Radio Times. Well, they also had a short little interview segment on their YouTube channel where they talk about Doctor Who specials that they both have written, and then briefly preview with various buzzwords the upcoming special as well.
Barely a preview.
Yeah, so you can watch that. Links in the show notes, radiofreescar.com.
And it's not on the list of the show notes, but RTD was on the One show. What day was that? Monday or Tuesday this past week?
Yeah, this past week. Sometime it's been so long ago.
Someday this past week, and he was. It was kind of it's interesting to watch the interview with him because, like, I don't think Moffat's name came up even once.
Oh, really? I never noticed
despite
that.
him writing the episode. But RTD did his usual promotion and
effusiveness. Yeah.
It's definitely one of his strengths. But what was it that he said about ITV's Christmas lineup that the president should be jumping off a building or something like that? It's that bad.
Somewhat insensitive comments about the ITV executives jumping off buildings because their lineup is so poor. Yeah, it really is, folks. The ITV one, which I'm not sure what that's.
It is true. I've definitely seen enough British people who would know to. Saying that is definitely the case. So
see, that strikes me as the exact opposite of Canada, where the CBC, our public broadcaster, is under threat from the incoming, presumably, government.
The BBC, I think the BBC is under threat as well, but
less now probably than it was with Conservatives. But
yeah, I mean, let's face it, the CBC's been under threat since like Joe Clark, for crying out loud, in 1979. True. So and it's still here, baby. It's still standing compared to all. And
you can rename Pierre Poilievre Buzzword Johnson, so maybe he's just saying stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. The ITV thing, but what's that going to translate to overnight figures? We don't care about such things, but the British press still like to hammer shows with it. So, even though the TV industry has, sure, I guess not enough 78-year-olds, aka the average age of BBC One viewership, didn't watch as much Doctor Who as they did in 2007 when it was the only place to get a new episode. So
when they were in their 50s.
Exactly. So. That's why we don't talk about stats as much over here. But anyway, what were we talking about? Radio Times. Nicola Coughlan was also on Graham Norton too, talking about the show. But I completely missed that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, she was on
this past Friday's episode.
This past Friday's episode, I believe.
I might have to take a peek later on.
Yeah, I didn't see that because obviously we're not in the UK and thus cannot watch such a thing.
No, that would be wrong and illegal and wrong.
Exactly. So, but damn, she was on it because, of course, the Doctor Who himself is busy in that play, that Oscar Wilde play now, on stage. So he's a little too busy to promote the actual episode that is in. So it's left to the writers and the guest star of the episode to do that. But I do believe the premiere, the actual press premiere, is happening this coming week. So there might be some more stuff out there in the ether to talk about in terms of images, reviews, all that sort of thing. So before the big day on Christmas Day, it's going to be a big week. That whole week is going to be big. We'll talk about that a little bit at the end of the show, but with all sorts of stuff to talk about, but later. Let's talk about some old Doctor Who. How about we love talking about old Doctor Who, and the Savages
all things
is coming out on Blu-ray as animated recon in March or April or something like that in UK. March
24th is the is what Amazon is saying.
That's pretty crazy. Amazon.co.uk.
Amazon UK, yeah. Josh Snares in their remarks about it also said March.
Now, I'm terrible at remembering, especially with early Doctor Who, what season a show goes and where. Is this
3.
Also filler, quote unquote, for a potential future box set? As well,
yes.
Would it fill the gap? Which gap would it fill?
This is season 3. It's Steven's last story.
Okay.
So it comes right before War Machines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's your last story. Once this comes out, you're done with Doctor Who.
Done with Doctor Who. I know, I'm done. Basically, they arbitrarily decided let's animate Celestial Toymaker, even though apparently maybe it was because it was coming, but the style of it was entirely independent of the Disney Plus show.
And I will defend it. It does fit the story very well.
It really does.
Totally fine.
And it does. And the Savages sort of returns to that more traditional Galaxy 4,
which is also fine,
recent type of thing. But it's they sort of arbitrarily decided Celestial Toymaker animated, and then the next story after that is Gunfighters smugglers exists, and then it's the Savages, and then the War Machines exist. So it feels like, let's just go down the line a little bit, and then you've got the smugglers. Everyone loves the smugglers.
You probably love the smugglers.
Maybe I do. Listen, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the smugglers, and I still think it's the best.
You won't let that stop you?
It's the best Doctor Who story involving pirates. Because
you might have a point there.
It's either The Curse of the Black Spot or Legend of the Sea Devils.
So excuse me, the pirate planet?
I know, but okay, so Earthbound in the sea.
All right.
Pirates, proper pirates. The
Both
smugglers.
Whole pirates.
Exactly. The smugglers is the best one, and by default, because it's never been seen. And but it's
let's keep it that way. Let's keep that box set on ice, just so that stays the way it does.
That's true.
The Savages is a hell of a good story.
It's really interesting.
I really, really like it. It's it's really thought provoking.
It's that title. The title. It's like the jazz singer. That's what it makes you think of.
As we were talking about before recording it, they had a different original title.
The White Savages,
which was even worse.
The White Savages.
I wasn't going to say it, but I mean, there it is.
It's right there. No point in erasing history. It's going to be the White Savages. We covered the story, of course, back when we did our Ian Stewart Black miniscope a ways back.
And when I watched the recon of the Savages for that, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. Telesnaps exist for it, you see, which means that there's going to be a proper Telesnap recon on this disc as well. Color, black and white version of the animated version, and Telesnap recon. That's what always happens in all these things. So you get everything on it. You don't get an AI version of it. That's what you don't get, and that's why it's even better than you think.
I think it was Josh Nares that was saying this is also the first time we've got a 3-disc release for a 4-episode story, because everything that we've had 3 discs for before has all been 6 episodes.
I guess so. I guess Galaxy 4 was only 2, wasn't it? Yeah. Because it had... I don't remember anymore. I know it had...
Galaxy 4 included Airlock and that hour-ish long recon as well.
That's true. Yeah. God, there's lots of stuff on there. But anyway, 3 discs now. 3 discs for a 4-part missing story. Astounding. We are treated so well by the people who make Doctor Who.
We are. I look forward to cracking the plastic on it, but my Blake 7 season 1 series 1 box set arrived yesterday.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're getting the Doctor Who treatment outside of Doctor Who, and even that's just exciting.
Warren, even you got
taking
that,
the plastic off. I haven't watched any of it yet. I'm trying to find the time to watch the making of Blake 7 before I do anything else.
Yeah.
Before I forget. So on that tangent, Stephen, you had kindly put in an order with the BBC shop for a copy of Blake 7 for me.
Yep.
Because you got free shipping and I had a discount code, and you can't do both, but I figured out a way. And then they canceled the order.
Yep.
And then you put the order in a second time. They canceled that one even faster.
Yeah.
And I reached out to the BBC shop, and at least I haven't looked at the US version, just Canada, but they told me that they are sold out of Blake 7, and they are not getting any more copies in.
Wow.
And they've delisted the disc or the set from the website.
Wow.
Like I said, I haven't looked at the US one to know if the same applies down there, but
we are odd. That's weird.
Well, we are one. So I mean, we've been talking up this thing on this podcast for.
And I mean, I bought my copy from Amazon as it happens, and so did you, Warren.
It arrived. Yeah. We are 100% taking credit for this, of course, because that's what I said at the time. Yep, it is the RFS bump. I did just check the US website. It is not there. There's no Blake 7 on the BBC shop anymore because they are sold out because we talked it up, and you, dear listeners, you listened and bought it. Which means if it sells out in North America, I feel pretty confident that a season 2 set is going to be coming at some point. But
because it will sell even more in England, because
it has Gambit on
firmament.
it. This is the one that has Gambit on it, season 2. So you've just
the
secured.
World is clamoring for Gambit.
You've just secured Gambit coming to Blu-ray in 2027 or something like that. So mine's coming on Wednesday along with the 60th anniversary specials. I bought that on Blu-ray too from the BBC shop. But I'm glad I got my order in as early as I did, because obviously I wouldn't have that opportunity now, and I would get it on time, which I did not either. So well. But you haven't even opened it yet, Chris. So, like, how did you really win? I don't think you won the race.
I've had it for like 16 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want from me.
Take the plastic off.
Oh, later in time.
I took the plastic. In fact, when I got it, I immediately took the plastic off just because of you, Chris. I'm like, no, I have to take the plastic off. I have to be a little bit ahead of Chris on this one.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see that it comes in like a standard size case. Nothing thicker.
I'm glad.
But
I don't need these giant cases like the UK ones. I don't need those. I really don't want those. So I have one for season 2, and it's just this massive chunk of cardboard in my DVD shelf. I go, what is this? I don't want it.
And I'm also told that in North America we get the booklet that comes in the UK version that we don't get in the Doctor Who side of things.
Warren, can you confirm, since you've actually opened the damn thing, can you confirm that
the booklet is in there? Yes.
The booklet is in there. There's an actual book for the North American version. Wow.
One mystery is on the back. It says, we've got this never-before-seen documentary about the making of Blake Seven from the Time, and we have this all new one. Yeah. And I keep looking through the booklet, and there's only one documentary. So I guess they're talking about 2 at the same time. That's all the one documentary in one thing, presumably?
There's Kevin John Davies made documentaries for the first 3 seasons that never actually found a release, I believe, but they've been on the internet, so to speak, to be found, and they're finally presented in their original form. And then
I'll watch it sometime this week, and then next week I'll give you a report.
And then clips from those are also on in Chris Chapman's big documentary on it, as he talked about on this very podcast a few weeks ago. So there's a lot of stuff on there. I'm looking forward to it. But I mean, even if I got it, like, it's just been a busy few days for me personally. So it's not like I would have had time to sort of dig into it anyway. So I'm not that jealous about you getting it first. But
it's not like you've never seen it before or anything.
That's true. So. Unlike you two, who've never seen the show.
I've seen it.
Damn you to hell. Although I've seen all of the first season, but I have not seen all of the second season, and now I'm debating whether I'll wait, which I probably won't because it's 2 years from now.
Well, you know what? I mean, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until I watch season 2 until it comes out on Blu-ray again. Even though it's been on Bitbox, I don't think it's on any of those fast channels. I don't think.
But there's a big difference between the two of us. You are insane, and I am differently insane.
I am very much insane when it comes to these things. Yeah. Anyway, Blake 7 Blu-ray here in North America now. I love that now there's a Savages release, which means there's another tab that I get to open and search daily to see what it's going to come out to. Still waiting. We're not swayed by this December 27th release date, aka a Friday for North America for season 25. But there's at least a placeholder page on Amazon for the season 25 set here in North America. But the release date has yet to be confirmed, and it's still not there on the BBC shop. We check daily for you. Hourly, should I say. I check
I check every few days. You check hourly.
I just have tabs.
I don't check at all.
I know you don't, Warren, but there's still nothing. So we wait in vain and hope for new announcements for such things, but it'll all come. This is really cool. So you mentioned Josh Snares. They had an interview with Iz Skinner, who has worked on the official animated recons throughout the years. But she and her partner Steve Skinner have made 3D animated recons for the missing 4 episodes of The Wheel in Space, and they're all on YouTube. The links in the show notes, you can watch them. I downloaded them just in case they disappear. They're really good because they feel like they're like I speak highly of the Web of Fear animation for part 3. Even though maybe the characters are a little janky, the style of it feels like 1960s Doctor Who. This Wheel in Space one has a style, except all the actual animation is a lot better. It's the best. It's might be my favorite type of recon for the Wheel in Space. I love it.
Yeah, the faces kind of look like moving photographs, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and like the little servo, like they did a lot of like reference footage. Like the servo robot is basically because it was like a kid, literally like a 12-year-old or not even in a robot suit, kind of like what they did with the Quarks later on that year.
There's a behind the scenes thing, and I find it fascinating. They showed their kind of lashed up setup. They did motion capture with their own setup that they did with a bunch of webcams in their living room. Yeah. But it totally works. It works. Translates to the animation really well. So it's just cool to see how they sort of innovated and did their own thing to get this to work.
Yeah, and I think they basically said, like, they kind of pitched it to the BBC, and it says, I don't know, the Web of Fear one wasn't liked by a lot of people, so maybe we should not go this direction. But I'm here to say, listen, we've sold out a Blake 7 Blu-ray set on the BBC shop here in North America, and now it's our job to beat the drum for this style of animation.
Hire these people.
Yeah,
come on.
Again, basically to make this is the way to do it. I think it looks great. I don't know, Chris, have you seen? Apart from the Josh Snares YouTube thing, have you seen any of the actual episodes, or just the YouTube
I
video?
only watched Josh Snares' thing.
Yeah, but those clips were enough for me to go, yep.
Yeah, that's what I watched too.
Yeah.
There's enough clips that it gives you a full sense of what it's like.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. Anyway, the whole playlist, links in the show notes to watch all 4 of these missing episodes. Very well done. And 4x3 in black and white, as God intended to you watch.
as whatever God you pick, they intended it.
They intended it to be this way.
Is it 605 line?
It would
better?
be by then. It would be by then. Yeah.
Well, the show would have been by then. I'm wondering, is the 3D recon 605?
That is the only arbiter of quality whatsoever. Just the number of lines.
That's true. I've yet to decipher that, but I will let you know. All right. Let's talk about some things. It's coming up to Christmas after all. There's stuff to buy, like the Doctor Who Magazine Special 68. The 2025 yearbook came out this past week from Doctor Who Magazine. I picked it up this morning.
You bought yours, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I bought it. Yeah, the year in review. Here's what happened this year. And they do, like, there's a big interview with Matthew Sweet about his Blu-ray interviews, and Simon McGarry's got something in there, and all the people that we lost, sadly. And it's not written by Toby Hadoke. He's got a thing coming out on BBC Radio, of course, towards the end of the year. But yeah, it's a good little.
And he'll have his YouTube thing, I don't doubt, as well.
That will be there too.
He hasn't said for sure that I've seen, but
it'll be there. It'll be there the last
sure.
seconds of 2024, just to include anyone else who's managed to get under the gun. But so that's there. Also, there's some Doctor Who books that coming. Doctor Who Dracula coming at some point in August 28th, 2025. There's a novel written by Paul Mars featuring the first Doctor meeting Dracula. What? No cover yet.
He did in The Chase.
Oh, that's right.
that was how do I put this gently? Walmart Dracula.
That was 100% a Walmart standee version.
Wish.com Dracula.
That was definitely a Shine Dracula.
Yeah. This book though is the one I'm looking forward to. It's coming out June 19th. Where's the Doctor? A search and find book. Basically, it's Where's Waldo, except it's Doctor Who drawings.
Well, that's much better because it's got Doctor Who in it.
Way better, because you search like find the Doctor in this one, find the Dalek in this one, that sort of thing. Except it's all Doctor Who. They're all fun little drawings of Doctor Who characters and stuff like that. There's even one for the Greatest Show in the Galaxy. You got to find someone in there, and there's like adipose and Suntarans and clowns and all sorts of things. You got to find Doctor Who in there. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I know what an adipose looks like, but I'm like wondering why I remember this. This throwaway Christmas, not even villain thing.
Yeah. I bet you remember it. Anyway, that is a fun looking book. I like it. I like it a lot. We'll be doing it. We'll do a whole podcast on that book, just us finding.
You will on your own.
Yeah,
Paul.
literally just
sounds like great radio.
Yeah, it'll just go, is that him? No, is that no? It'll be just that.
I'm just looking forward to you pulling out all your hair as you try to go through this book, Stephen.
That's Stephen's birthday gift to you, the listener.
Exactly. Yeah. If I could listen, it's June 19th. Maybe they'll be at Comic-Con if I go there, and I'll just I'm here for this. Nothing else. I don't care about your Doctor Who panel. Your Doctor Who is renewed for season 3 panel on Disney Plus. That's such a thing. I don't know.
I'm going to predict that's going to be a non-Doctor Who related SDCC.
I don't know. We'll see. We will see, won't we? See how Doctor Who does in March. Russell T Davies did say on the One show, it's coming, season 2's coming sooner than you think, quote unquote.
January 1st. Just like End of Time Part 2.
Wouldn't that be alarming if that was the case?
It'd be very surprising, yes.
I would be very surprised. That would be
quite unlikely, frankly.
Very unlikely. I feel like it's probably very unlikely that it's going to be premiering as soon as that.
So as we record this, did anybody watch the Doctor Who YouTube 2009 live stream?
They had it
compendium thing, including the End of Time yesterday.
No, I didn't.
No.
I
didn't know this existed.
No, yeah, YouTube. They've been doing this on YouTube. They've been sort of having like the greatest
every
hits of-
Saturday.
yeah, every Saturday they have like a live stream of a whole bunch of stuff. But
Okay.
we've seen it. But I don't tend to watch as much. But yeah,
Why would I
keep
watch
that
the
in
end time without having a reason to?
Yeah, I know. I mean,
There's never a reason to.
no.
Well, I mean, we podcast about it or whatever. Like if it was in a mini scope, I would do it. But
That's true.
Yeah, except we've done those. So
We have,
we've done
haven't we?
RTD, we've done Aeroslin. So.
Oh, thank God for that. Okay, well, then we don't have to watch that again. So we could have watched it on YouTube, but we didn't. Waters of Mars would have been in there too, and that would have been worth it because
That's
Water Mars
good.
is
That's good.
great.
Good
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Roger.
Yeah. Gadget.
Oh, pardon me.
You're thinking of
I'm doing the 8 stupid droids
You
from
are.
Phantom Menace.
You are.
What a faux pas. Quitting the podcast immediately.
That's all right.
I know you guys probably aren't watching it, but there's a fun little droid thing in episode 3 of Skeleton Crew.
You're right. I'm not
Oh,
watching it.
It's there now. Yeah.
Yeah. A little battle droid just sitting on
Listen, I'm unemployed and I'm
Sit
still
on the
not
rock
watching
there.
Skeleton Crew. What does that tell you?
He cuts out.
There's a lot of stuff people keep telling me I should binge, and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to bother.
Don't tell Warren to binge
I don't
things.
think I don't think I'd recommend. Well, there's only 3 out of the 8 or whatever so far out, but I don't know that I would yet say binge Skeleton Crew.
Well, I'm not going to binge it when 8 of them are out either. So I watched the first one,
I
said,
know.
fine, I hope you enjoy it. Not for me. And that's that.
I got to tell you, I mean, this is kind of tying into the future of Doctor Who a little bit, but like, I was kind of middling on season 1 of Doctor Who. Let's face it, the Disney Plus version.
Yeah, more so than me, I would say, and probably more so than Chris too. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think Warren and I enjoyed it more. Yeah,
I think so. And any of the things that I didn't like about season 1 weren't going to be learned for season 2 because they made it concurrently essentially. And
True.
so I'm looking forward to Doctor. I mean, I'm looking for. Let's face it. I'm looking forward to Ncuti Gatwa feeling a little more at home with the role because he came in halfway through season 1. Let's face it, and sort of like had to find his place. And
well, and any
2,
doctor's like that. I mean, Capaldi was like that too.
A little. Well, I love Capaldi. From the
Well, I mean,
get-go.
I know, but it's same thing, same phenomenon's happening there.
Thanks to Unleashed, because we didn't know this from when they were shooting it in the first place. But thanks to Unleashed, we learned how late in the game Gatwa came to filming.
Yeah,
which I wouldn't. Thankfully, I wouldn't have guessed that just based on watching the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Their production schedule and logistics were definitely good enough to mask that to a good degree.
A little bit. But what my point is here is that there was an email leak a few months ago now, or weeks ago, I can't remember what it was, and it sort of like stated when the premiere of Doctor Who season 1 was. It said it was March 28th, as opposed to
which could be what RTD is referring to.
It could be, but as opposed to like May 10th, I think is when it came out, or May 9th in last year. Andor premieres late April on Disney Plus as well.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to Andor season 2. I feel like Andor is entirely different, obviously, than Doctor Who, both as a franchise,
most of Star Wars,
but just as a feel, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be. I'm worried that more people are going to be more emotionally invested in the second and last season of Andor than maybe Doctor Who.
I think you're plucking statistics from the sky here. Also, you are not an unbiased source. You have a very particular, and I'm not saying it's bad, but you have a very particular view of what you want to see on TV.
That's true.
That most people don't share. So, and the viewing audience of Andor and Doctor Who probably does cross over, but not to the crisis-laden extent that you're making out here. These
Probably
are completely
not.
different shows.
I hope not, but it's just something that I'm sort of thinking about as we get closer to it. I think Andor will probably get more mainstream media attention than Doctor Who as well.
But it's kind of like Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad never got huge ratings, but it was a critical darling. Andor is probably more or less along the same lines, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with any of this. There are probably Star Wars fans who love both Skeleton Crew and Andor, and good for them. Like whatever. I'm with you. I'd rather see Andor than all this other Star Wars stuff because it's a little too kiddie, which is what Star Wars is, other than Andor to begin with.
True.
So
yeah.
But I mean, we're just plucking at random stats here. Like
a little bit.
This is going to play out as it plays out, and trying to causation and correlation this to make ourselves feel better is not going to change anything.
I suppose not, but also like Disney might hitch their wagon to a Star Wars property more so than a Doctor Who one.
They absolutely will. They own it. Oh, right. So of course they would. Yeah.
And so like I'm also a little bit worried about how much attention they're going to give to Doctor Who leading. They'll probably promote the hell of like the premiere of season 1, but then after that it's going to be all Andor. Let's face it.
Here's an ignorant question: Does Disney have anything to do with Wicked, or is that Warner Brothers? I don't remember.
Good question.
Because if they have something to do with Wicked, you're going to see nothing but Wicked on there.
I
don't think they do.
You just automatically assume that it just feels like
it seems Disney-ish,
thing,
but
right?
I don't know if it is.
I don't know if it is or not. I have no idea.
Universal Pictures has the rights to Wicked.
Okay.
Yeah, so never mind.
Don't have to worry about that, at least. So yeah, anyway, something to keep an eye out for when spring rolls around.
Warner still owns the original Wizard of Oz.
Okay,
there we are.
That's where I probably was pulling Warner from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, Stephen. You've also been doing your yearly Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar stuff. There's been some Ahsoka stuff in there. Is that driving you to watch Ahsoka again?
Rethinking on Ahsoka.
Has there been?
No, it's still a hot pile of garbage.
I got the character. I got the little Ahsoka minifig.
You got a ship?
Apparently, I got the ship. I didn't. There's a couple ships, and they're going, I do not know what this is. I do not know what this ship is. Is it even the right way around? I don't even know.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you
Yeah,
because I wouldn't know either.
I just like some. It might be a ship. Sure.
Anyway,
is there an Andor? Tell me if there's an Andor one. December 15th. I've gotten up to. I don't think.
And I've said this to other guests. You think about this too much. Like you're way overanalyzing this.
Oh, I don't know. It's fun. That's what we do a podcast for, to overanalyze.
I know. I'm just saying, like, you're not putting as much. Bob Iger is not putting as much thought into this as you are.
No, that's the thing. I mean, if
he's counting his golden parachute money,
someone's got to think about this stuff, Warren.
You're not getting paid by Disney. Get paid by Disney and then think about it.
No, I don't want to do that.
All right.
Yeah, I pay Disney enough for Disney Plus, I guess.
Yeah, but now you're doing mental work for them. You're actually working on their behalf.
That's true. Well, like I said, someone's got to think about it. Anyway, back to the news list as it is. Doctor Who Agent of the Daleks, first Doctor original audio, not Big Finish. An actual BBC audio is coming out March 6th, read by Maureen O'Brien and Nicholas Briggs as the voice of the Daleks, written by Steve Lyons. That's coming out as well. So there you go. That's coming out in March.
Now,
yes,
I don't want to know what it's about because in my head, it's about an agent for the Daleks. Davros, buddy, what can I do for you? Just smoking a cigar. He's let's say 1945,
right?
He's just hustling in Hollywood. Like, you want to be in pictures, do you, Davros? And Davros is like, I do not. Why do you?
Do not want to be in pictures. Listen and find out, Warren. Listen and find out.
No, I want my own version that's really terrible and stupid.
All right. Also,
AO3.
Yeah, the Cloud Doctor Who, the Cloud Exiles, and Other Stories, Doctor Who audio annual with a fun little cover art. Looks like it was the 1940s or 50s or something like that. With also various readers like Maureen O'Brien, who can't get away from Doctor Who now. Jeffrey Beavers, Katie Manning, Matthew Waterhouse, Adric himself, Janet Fielding, Toby Longworth, and Tim Treloar, all reading stuff for the Doctor Who audio annual. That's coming out April 3rd on audio from BBC Audio. How many times can I say the word audio in one sentence? Speaking of audio, the Doctor Who theme has been added to the Australia National Film and Sound Archive. Of course, Australia, home of birthplace of Ron Grainer, who wrote the Doctor Who theme tune back in 1983. Yep, he was Australian. So yeah, that and 9 other things from Australian history, none which we ignorant Canadians recognize, but we do know what the Doctor Who theme tune sounds like. So,
yeah, I mean, things like the 1954 speaking clock probably don't have the same impact on us
outside of Australia. No offense, Australia. I'm sure all this stuff is very important to you, but we're Doctor Who fans, so that's all we pay attention to.
We waste our time tying together loose threads on a big chalkboard with red strings on them. We don't have time for your national pride.
We don't have time for that. Also, some Big Finish news. The Death and Life of River Song, Ace and Tegan. That's right. River Song, Ace, and Tegan are teaming up on a Big Finish audio coming out in March of 2025. Alex Kingston's on the cover to say "shush spoilers" because that's her line. You see, so So there you go. There's 4 different stories, 2 of which are written by James Moran. That's pretty cool.
Neato.
Yep, writing those. So that's coming out in March. And then finally, before our interview, Arnold Yarrow, who played Belial in Death of the Daleks, was also a writer and script editor for like Softly Task Force, amongst many other things. Finally died. Died at age 104.
So I raise a glass to this guy.
Amazing. He's survived by his brother, who is 100. The Yarrow genes are amazing.
Man.
104. Yeah.
Kicking butt.
Right? So, wow, what a life.
So that means he was in middle age during the Pertwee time era.
Yeah,
That's insane.
He's in that crazy Exelon outfit. He's in his 50s for crying out loud.
He's like my age. That's nuts.
Yeah. So, think about that on your birthday, Warren. Yeah, exactly. So
that's commitment to the bit is what that is. I wouldn't do it.
Absolutely. So, wow.
And that's why I won't live to 104.
Mm-hmm. Which
you need to wear
apparently
the cursed Balal costume.
Yeah.
Which apparently now makes Laurie Webb from Three Doctors, as the oldest living Doctor Who person at age 100.
Age 100, yeah.
Nice.
I know. I feel like it was this article on Doctor Who News that said it. I think it is only 6 actors who have on Doctor Who have reached the age of 100. And now I'm trying to think like Laurie Webb, obviously, Arnold Yarrow, Earl Cameron, who we talked about recently, I think, 103 he lived to.
Listen, we need to have footage of Jimmy Carter from the 70s in Doctor Who so that he can be another person who's 100 and been in Doctor Who.
Some, wasn't there some archive footage, like maybe on that, the end of the world, or are they...
just do what RTD did with Obama. Just get a look-alike from the back of Jimmy Carter announcing how he's going to save the world economically. He's going to end the oil crisis.
Speaking
in 1970, let's say 7.
That's true.
William Russell, of course, did not make that list.
No, we lost 3 people at age 99 this calendar year, in fact. So, wow, 104. Well done, Arnold Yarrow. A life lived. Anyway, that is it for the news. After the very short break, we dip back in time to last month at Chicago TARDIS, where I talked to Paul McGann and Sunny McGann. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Pratfall. We're up. Paul McGann, everybody. Sunny McGann, everybody. I think I'm here, and then you are one of these two.
Hi, folks.
Okay, first up, before you sit down, Paul, give a twirl of that coat, because that is a proper doctor coat right there. That is...
Isn't it great?
Where did you get it?
Made by a man called Stephen Porter. Who makes clothes. Basically, he made Tennant stuff. He makes, So he's got a nice little sideline going now.
Right.
Making the Doctor's things. You might see him around at some of the shows these days. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of great. And it's just nice to wear clothes that fit.
Right.
Have you ever had anything made for you? Do you have
No, and I have the longest arms of anyone I know, so I always have to buy like bulkier. Yeah. I don't have Paul McGann money. I can't get stuff made for me.
Yeah, you say that, but there was a time, and it wasn't that long ago, when it was even working class people. Where we come, you could still, when there was still an industry around it. They'd sort of save a bit of their wages, and they would have shirts made for themselves. That was what you did.
Sunday best,
yeah.
Right.
So everything, so things used to fit. Mm-hmm. It's a lovely thing to do. Is there anyone in the room who wears bespoke clothing at all? See, it's going out of fashion. It's such a shame.
We're all off the rack.
Because the simple points about bespoke is, I mean, obviously not. This is show business, but say you were to get a suit made or a shirt made for yourself. Right. That's it for life. They'll alter it for you. If the lining goes, they repair it for you. So, as long as it stays alive, you stay alive. Mm-hmm. You can take it back. But that's it. You pay more, obviously. You might pay twice as much at the beginning. Listen to me. What am I talking about?
No.
You can tell I was a salesman, can't you?
I'm just fascinated that there's a coat shop that just makes jackets expressly for people who play Doctor Who. Essentially, because that's what you're wearing. Essentially, David Tennant was one.
I strongly recommend. Like you're big and long-limbed.
Right.
You should get something made for you. It's a game changer.
Okay.
Seriously.
Put
you look amazing when you pull something on that fits.
I would love that. And to lose 30 pounds for it to fit even better. But
You serious? Anyway.
Thank you.
Me and my son here are very happy.
Yeah.
We've been rendered very happy in the last 10 minutes. Particularly, I've got to tell you this.
Yes, you do.
Because our beloved Liverpool Football Club has just won a really important game. And the last 2 hours, I don't know what you've been. I was sighing and stuff. I was nervous. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't speak. Well, Liverpool beat Manchester City 2-0, so they've just beaten the reigning champions. And like anytime in any sport, when you play a champ, you can't just dance around them or jab your way. You've got to knock them out. You have to. That's what makes them champs, And Liverpool just did that. Do you? Good for you. Well, I just spent 2 months there because I did a theatre job in London, and we lived in Charlton, right in the shadow of the ground. Have you ever visited the ground, the valley? Come on, do it. Get over there and do it. Your spiritual home. Anyway, so you get us at a very good time. We're giddy and happy. Long may it continue. We were happy anyway. Anyway, shall I stop talking?
No, that was... Yes, stop talking on a panel. That's perfect.
Sing you something? Okay, yeah, exactly.
How was your convention otherwise? That was obviously the topper on a good weekend with you and your son. I mean, you basically got to hang out at a Doctor Who convention for free.
Yeah, no, this is a really good one. This is it's a sociable one. It's friendly, and of course, being Doctor Who themed, it's like a family thing. We're all here together. Everybody knows each other. People have made friends and lifelong friends. So it's got that kind of vibe. It's got that atmosphere. We really appreciate it because you may forget sometimes we're fans too. So we love it. We love to come to these things, particularly these kind of the friendlier ones. Because some of them ain't friendly, let me tell you. Some of them are a little bit corporate. Yeah. Like sausage machine kind of vibe. They're no good. I don't like those ones. I'm sure you've all been to one or two. But anyway, I'll definitely stop talking. You talk.
Yeah. How was your weekend, Sonny? I mean, this is your first time as a guest, isn't it?
This is my second time.
Second time? Okay.
Chicago, yeah. But it's been a long time. So, that's been great. I've had such a good time.
Well, I mean, you come from an acting family. Paul and his brothers are actors. An entertainment showbiz family. Was it inevitable for you to sort of like slide into at least at the very start some voice work as you do for Alex Campbell for Big Finish?
I mean, it's a question for my dad as well. I think because the equivalent of our kind of exams in the UK is called GCSEs, and it wasn't until I did my GCSEs at age 16 that weirdly it ever occurred to me that it was something I wanted to do. And I think that I talked about this a little bit yesterday at a panel, that kind of when you're so close to something and you have so much exposure to something, it can be quite easy for it to become so normal that you don't realize, I could make a career out of this. This is something I could do as a profession, instead of, this is something that just goes on. This is normal. Everyone does this, as a kid. Whatever your dad does, especially, or it's quite easy to think, this is.
Yeah, and it's not straightforward.
No, it isn't. No.
I probably said this to you before, but me and your mum, particularly when you first mentioned, that about being an actor or the idea of being an actor, in a way you're almost obliged to try to stop them.
Yeah.
Well, you are, because when it's your own child, of course you are. Because it's realistic. But both me and Annie, Sonny's mum, came out of, we came from theatre. We met in theatre, so we know how it is. And the fact is, really, the long and the short of it is, particularly for actors, it's really only the people who can't be stopped that should be doing it. If you can be persuaded to do something else, you should do that.
Yeah.
I think that's realistic. And so, even where were your mum and dad, but even we believed that,
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be stopped. So.
Well, I remember the early conversations you'd have with me about it when I was, 18, 19 was, first of all, I should tell the story. I think the first time you came to see me in anything, probably, I invited you to, I was doing a thing at the local college in Bristol, and we were doing some silly play in a car park outside the theatre, not even in the theatre. It was just a car, we set it in the car park outside because that's as close as we could get to being in the theatre. And it was me and a bunch of my friends, two of whom are actually at the Liverpool game today. They took our tickets from Liverpool.
No way.
There you go.
So, you make lifetime friends.
Right.
But yeah, and I was playing an old man with emphysema, and for some reason, and another friend of mine was
Welcome to showbiz.
a friend of mine was playing a prostitute. Another friend of mine was playing this overdramatic Greek person. I can't even remember what the show was. It was bonkers. But I remember I invited you to come and see it, and I remember the expression on your face when you saw. I think because you do kind of need that. You need, I guess, as a parent, you hope that your kid, especially if they want to do anything in show business, God, I hope they have something, because it's going to be really hard to have that conversation and sit them down and say, look, I want you to chase your dreams and everything, but maybe could you chase your dream over here? It's a little bit safer.
Right.
But thankfully it didn't have to be fully that conversation. So.
Also, you look at your uncles, they're all working actors. Again, it's a truism but worth saying. And it's the same here, I know, as in Britain. 90-something% of my union are out of work on any one day. So it's, and even of the say the 5% are in work, only maybe 5% of that number are making a living. It's really, really, really hard. So
and that's what you come to terms with, I think.
Yeah.
It's a difficult. It's a life choice, really. You sign yourself up for so much doubt and uncertainty, and like you say, you need to have a thick skin. It needs to be right for you. You need to be able to do that. Otherwise, if there's anything else you're interested in.
I know me and your mum were concerned that you might have got the wrong impression. Like looking at your uncles, my brothers, that they were all working. Maybe you thought that it was straightforward or it was easy or something.
Well, I tell you what you did say to me was I did a show a couple of years after the first time you saw me.
Yeah.
And I remember you came to see that, and afterwards, that was the Cloud 9.
That was amazing.
That? Yeah, because I was the lead in that, and it was we did about a week's worth of shows. This was in the theatre this time, and my dad came to see it, and I remember afterwards he came to see the last show. I remember afterwards saying to him, "It's funny, like I've really enjoyed this show. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, but I don't feel satisfied. I never feel satisfied with the work I do, and that's what I've been trying to figure out. It's like, how do I, go out there and do this thing and then walk away and go, wow, that was it. That's what I needed. I got everything I wanted out of that. I can look back on that and be like, great, that was cool. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the next one. I couldn't get that out of anything I was doing, and I remember my dad saying to me, that's part of it, and maybe just no one has explain that to you yet. The day you're satisfied, stop, because that's because that's what you can't have is satisfaction. If you're doing something incredibly difficult and incredibly unpredictable, and could potentially lead to big failure, really. Yeah. You could crash out by the time you're 30 and realize you potentially wasted a long time. And I do remember him saying to me, it's good, that feeling. I know it's not a comfortable feeling, but that's the thing that will keep you coming back for more.
Cloud 9 is great. Cloud 9 is played by an English playwright called Carol Churchill. And it's kind of great. People don't do it anymore. But in the first half, and if you got the lead, like Sonny was just describing, having the lead role, in the first half you play, it's set in 1890s, it's Victorian, it's the Brits in India. And it's a kind of paterfamilias character. There's the family and they're on this lawn and there are these people out in India. And in the second half, which is set on a housing estate in a park in modern-day London in the 80s, and you have to play a 5-year-old girl.
Yeah. So the casting is really important. The casting is always the same. So whoever plays whatever he is, he's like an earl or a baron or something.
That's right, yeah.
The guy that owns this colonial estate has to play the 5-year-old girl in the second half.
It's great.
What's
more, I had played it.
You'd played it, of course.
When I was at drama school, I played it, and it was the only thing I ever won a prize for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember that, because they gave me a prize. You don't win prizes for acting, but I did, and that day. But seeing you, and you did it better than I did it.
Well, that's kind of you to say.
So you did. You really nailed it. And I remember thinking, wow, you can do it. You really can do it.
Well, that was a big day. It's definitely a part you can't really do.
You can't
half measure.
You can't coast it. No.
Yeah.
Particularly playing the 5-year-old girl.
Oh yeah.
You just can't. I loved it. I remember wearing a Laura Ashley skirt or a long dress, swinging on a swing. Remember, because you got to swing on a swing in this park.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, happy days.
I know.
Happy days.
Happy days.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're starting out, I feel like you kind of need to start in the theater because you get an audience gratification or at least a response of some sort. Yeah?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I was looking. Who were we talking about the other day? Was there's an English dead now. Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed was the hell-raising English actor, the nephew of Carol Reed, the great director. He never did a theatre show in his whole life, or a television show. Only ever did pictures in his whole career. And even, particularly in England, that's so unusual. You just don't meet those people. And he was a hugely rich, successful actor for decades. Never did a theatre show. So, I mean, that's the exception rather than the rule. But,
right.
But most of it, in Britain, most of us, if you train, it's a theatrical training, and most of us end up doing theatre anyway, which is good because it works. That's where you learn, really. It's where you learn to keep good. Mm-hmm. I think I was explaining yesterday, or trying to, that it doesn't work the other way. It only works one way. You learn things in the theatre which you can practical things you can take back to film sets or television jobs. Right. It doesn't work the other way around. There's nothing that you learn shooting films that will give you any kind of wisdom, knowledge, or preparation for working in the theatre. It doesn't work that way.
No.
So it's good. It's good to do theatre.
It's quite common to have TV actors come into the theatre, and it's quite exposing.
Well, yeah,
when you've had a great career, but it's been 20 years since you've been in the theatre, and you realise there's techniques you've forgotten or you need to learn.
Just simple things, like for example, this room is about the size of a standard theatre. In most places, you'll have a theatre. What is it, like 30 meters? You get people, I know even those people right at the back, and then there might be a balcony up there. Mm-hmm. Those people have paid, $50, $60, $70, and you ain't mic'd, right? So you have to learn how to do it. There's something, and that's what they teach you.
You have to project, basically.
Project,
It's not yelling.
It's all practical tricks. You learn it, but until you learn it, it's sink or swim. It's kind of thrilling, but like Sonny says, really exposing.
Yeah. Well, now they cheap out a little bit. They actually give them little wireless mics.
Like the tech now, everybody wears like little mics on their faces.
And earpieces. They started doing that as people wearing earpieces. Haven't even learned their lines.
I know, just because they can. I know. It's all over now, of course. You missed it. It's all finished now. Anyway.
I mean, perhaps naturally, I don't know. Having the son of Doctor Who come in and play the great-grandson of Doctor Who just seemed to be a natural. So how did you come to be Alex Campbell then in the big finishes?
Well, I can't... I talked about this yesterday. I can't fully remember what the initial conversations were about it. But I certainly remember the recording sessions because they were so kind of pivotal for me in my beginning as an actor. But yeah, I think it took a while for the kind of gravity of it to really set in for me about what it, I mean, I knew who Carol Ann Ford was, but, because I wasn't the biggest Doctor Who fan growing up, the weight of...
A gasp from the crowd.
From the cheap seats.
The son of Doctor Who was not a Doctor Who fan.
I never. How dare you?
Well, it's like it's like whatever your parents do. It's not very cool, is it?
No, it ain't cool. It's not meant to be cool.
It's not cool. My dad does. That's cool. But
boomers.
I think it took I tell you, it was very likely when I started getting invited to things like this that it occurred to me. Oh, people are listening to this. This means something. Now the new stuff, the Time War stuff. Now I fully understand the kind of the privilege we have of getting to tell these stories and what they mean. And the continuation of the story we're telling. And thankfully, it's all really, really well written. So we relish the chance now to do more
Absolutely.
And I think for Alex, I've talked about this in one of the interviews on one of the box sets, that something about Alex dying and then getting to come back years later mirrored my experience. Because I didn't play another role for Big Finish in the time in between. So Alex getting to come back was me getting to come back as well. So his new lease on life is my new lease with the character. I get another chance at the character and to explore him and figure him out and take him to interesting places. And he gets the same thing. He gets to go on new adventures and explore, and take risks and likely end up in a life or death situation again.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Much like your Doctor has been. You've been reborn several times, Paul, in the course of your Doctor Who life.
Yeah, resurrected. Mm-hmm. Maybe all the Doctors have 9 lives or something, really. Death is no barrier, is it, son?
Tying all the things...
Love is stronger than death. What's that from?
What is that from?
Oh, that's from... that's some Song of Songs. Song of Solomon. I can't believe I'm giving you a Bible lesson. It's Sunday, isn't it? Sir, you had your hand up. Is that right? What was that guy's name, that guitar player?
What was his name?
He was fantastic.
Oh.
Because...
This Is the Day. That was the big song, of course.
Because Johnny Marr from Smiths played with them for a while, didn't he? So anyway... Private conversation going on here, folks.
Music.
Talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
Tying all that together, theater, Big Finish, and everything. The Stuff of Legend live recording happened recently. A command performance. They had to add a couple more the next weekend. What was that like? That was like probably your first time playing the Doctor in front of an audience in sort of an official capacity. I want to say.
Yeah, but not even a theater show. It was a reading. It was live radio effectively. Mm-hmm. So it was unusual, but great fun. Mm-hmm. And initially it was, I think Jason explained, initially it was one day, just the 2 shows, but they sold them out so quickly that we extended it and did 2 more. I really hope, I know they're being coy, Jason's being coy, because everything has to go through the BBC, at least it's under their aegis. Mm-hmm. And until we get the nod, it can't be definite. But I think we'll do it again.
I think whispers have been made.
Whispers have been made. Look, it's an open secret. But really, the only way we could do it probably is to do it at an event like this. Because you've got this room is big enough. Mm-hmm. Because anyway, for different reasons. But if it happens, it will surely be at a convention somewhere.
But even the set, such as it was, you had the TARDIS, you had the classic TARDIS set in the background. I mean, there was a visual.
And a semicircle of actors, with the stands and with the, you sat down when you weren't, it was like big band style. When you weren't playing, you sat down
for your solo.
You got up and did your thing. Mm-hmm. It was nice, and we got the hang of it sort of 10 minutes in, and it really, really worked. But of course, also the audience took part in it. They played Santarans or whatever it was on the day. Everybody, and each of the performances was recorded, and separately recorded. So, if you were there, if you were lucky to be there at the time, you're now on a Big Finish recording, which is kind of cool. And we should do it again. I really want to do it again.
Yeah. How did go ahead.
It also came in the middle of another rehearsal. You left one rehearsal to go. Yeah,
it was mad. It was mad. Yeah, because we were a week or so away from opening a play.
Wow.
The one was living down in Charlton. Mm-hmm. So that was tense, but could have done without that. But it was when worlds collide. But it was fun, It was really something.
They didn't check your availability when they scheduled this, is what you're saying. Should we see if Paul's available and not a week away from opening a play?
Exactly. Yeah. It was one of them situations. Yeah, but there's some things you just can't turn down. Mm-hmm. And live Doctor Who is one of them. Yeah. You got to do it.
Did you? You've done the audio obviously for so long that you're probably sort of locked in a way.
I think that was part of the reasoning. If they were going to do it, then it probably should be with the 8th.
Right.
Because, effectively, the 8th lives on audio. It's mostly audio. So I think that was their rationale, was to get me to do it. Mm-hmm. Whether I was just about to open a play or not. I think.
But having done it, like, in a studio, in a sound booth for most of the time that you've done that, did you...
We got... sorry to preempt your question, but we rehearsed for 2 days.
Okay.
That was necessary because it's something that we just couldn't have... Because once we... I think Barnaby Edwards, who was acted in the show and also produced the audios, he was keen that when the shows effectively happen, we start it and we play it all the way through. It's a 90-minute thing with an interval. And the first show, we'd rehearsed a couple of days, so we were kind of in the swing of it, and we went right through. And then we realised that there were people there that kind of... They wanted to see a few mistakes. They wanted to see it break down a bit.
They wanted to see the car crash as the figure
exactly
skater
right.
fall.
So we kind of factored that into the next few shows because that's what people wanted. So we did fly by the seat of our pants a little bit, but it worked. It was great. It was a great atmosphere.
Yeah. So like the rehearsals basically were in the theater that you would perform in?
No,
or?
we rehearsed in a dance studio in Mayfair for a couple of days.
Right.
But really glad as well that we had the time to do it because we needed to kind of look slick so we could make it look not so slick, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Like showbiz tends to be. Yeah.
Did you have like the compunction to maybe think, I'm now in front of an audience? Do I give the same audio type of performance that I've been giving for so many years?
Yeah,
or now you're in an audience now and you kind of like, you want to play it.
But like with any audience, at any time, if you're doing plays or this kind of thing, audiences are part of it. That's why, you do 8 shows a week, say, if you're doing a play. Each show is different because the audience is different. And in a way, it's their energy that's, if you're up on stage, we're all still in the same room. And we can hear you. Sometimes we can't see you. We're lit and you're not. But every time you go and see a show, you're part of it, believe me. And it really matters to actors. That they're getting a vibe from you. Some audiences are they're not really there, and it doesn't really help.
Right.
We need you. So, and it was really that was really the case when we did those live shows. Because we needed the audience to chip in and to shout out and to laugh and to take part, which they did. And it really mattered. We're all in it together, folks, for real. Spoken like a populist. And I'm just the kind of strong man to fix it. Yeah. Anyway, let's not go there.
I mean, Sonny, you've sort of branched into producing some Big Finish now with a couple of releases.
Yeah, that was a nice elision, wasn't it? That was a nice pivot.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't talk about much of it because the crazy thing
Would you
about
have to kill us?
I mean, they're all out now.
Well, it's more like I'd get killed by Jason Hegg-Ellery. But because the one of the things about Big Finish is it's very common to record things way in advance, especially if you're working with, say, like Tom Baker, for instance. Tom Baker records 5-10 years in advance, which is madness.
Gotta do it.
And it's great because the more we have, the better. But
like Prince.
Well, exactly.
Prince recording all those albums,
it does
when he
kind
was
of feel
gone.
no, but it genuinely, like those stories of Prince finishing something and then the people he's working with going, well, when will we get to hear it? So, don't worry about that. Yeah.
It's going into the vault.
It's going in the vault, or
right.
Maybe sometime you'll see it.
There's a Tom Baker vault somewhere, folks.
Well, yeah, but it's a thing. So it's very common to have younger actors come in. Often they've just graduated drama school, maybe, and this might be their first thing, and we have to, politely say to them, look, we can't talk about this. So,
you may be 52 years old before you...
We'll have won an Oscar by the time this comes out.
Exactly right, yeah.
It's just one of those things about this kind of work is this might be your first job, but once you finished it, you've still, according to everyone else, you've still never worked. It's really, really tricky. And the same goes for the production side of it. So, we could be working on something, and then, we'll check the release schedule. Oh, it's not coming out for 2 years. Okay, I'll have to remember, amongst every other release we're doing, don't talk about that one until 3 months before, whenever they announce it. So, and as I've just got into properly into the producing side of things in the past year, currently everything I'm doing is effectively in that state where I can't really talk about it. suffice to say, it's all really interesting. You'll just have to trust me.
Right. Well, I do know that what the Master box set with Eric Roberts came out in February.
Sure, yeah.
So you're safe to talk about that one.
Yes, yeah. So I have to be so careful.
Or not.
Because it's all coincides with other stuff.
Let me ask you a generic question. What are the duties of a Big Finish producer? Is that generic enough that I could not get you in trouble?
Yeah, so I can definitely talk about that. So how it generally goes is you'll be assigned a project, you'll be assigned a script editor, you'll assign your own director. So you'll have there's lists of basically every kind of freelancer that works at Big Finish, including myself. Whatever role we can fill, we're included on lists of people who are effectively. It's like a whitelist, effectively, trusted people, included with contact information, all that kind of stuff. So, but how it's generally gone for me is because I've spent a couple of years working as a liaison as well. I've got to meet everyone. It'll generally be who I've already worked with. I'll be able to get in touch with them and say, hey, I'm doing this thing. We were doing that thing before. Should we do this thing together? And they go, yeah, of course. That sounds great. So it's generally we go on about a family atmosphere. It generally feels like that. Like that everyone knows everyone and everyone's aware of who would suit certain dynamics. Because when it comes to depending on, I'm trying not to give too much away. Depending on which box set you're working on, which kind of gang of actors you're working with, what story you're trying to tell, particularly when it comes to directors. It can be very important to have the right dynamic in the studio, right? Especially because one episode generally is recorded over one day. If the dynamic isn't right, it can be very tricky. And whatever you get out of that day is what you get, unless you want to come back and record things again, which can get expensive. So it can be really important to pick the right people, and that's an important role for the producer, is to go, okay, I know I've got these actors. I know they expect a certain kind of thing. Some of them like recording from home. Some of them really want to be in the studio. Some of them need the director to be present. Some of them don't mind if the director's remote as well. Sometimes they don't even mind if the producer's remote. That's why I have a job in the first place. Often producers will say, I can't be in the studio today. Are you able to go in and look after everyone? Right. Yes, of course. So it's a team-building exercise, effectively, most of the time, alongside all the kind of contractual stuff and dealing with agents, which I absolutely loathe, but, it comes with the job. Agents, it's always agents. It's never actors. Actors, in my experience, are fantastic. Agents are a nightmare. Some are great. There's some, but that kind of, you figure that out as you go. There's certain voiceover agents who are fantastic, and there's some particularly, without mentioning names to get myself in trouble, it's usually the bigger ones, the bigger kind of, too big to fail agencies that become. It's very difficult. It's very easy to get lost, especially if you don't have your own kind of clout to guide you through. They see your name and they go, we'll deal with it later, and they'll go and talk to a much more important client instead of dealing with what you have to say, which, that's part of the job. Yeah. But it's fun. It's fun because it's a good kind of crash course in dealing with
like him. I know.
No, it's kind of because it's it's very easy if you're just on the creative side of things, and I'm sure you can speak to this as well. If you find yourself just working as an actor or just working as a director, especially if you work in theatre, like we're talking about, you might find yourself with plenty of time to editorialize and get conceptual and play around, but it's not often you have to deal with like busy work. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's very easy to forget that there are people behind the scenes who are doing that busy work for you, and you, like we're doing now, we walk out with the star of the show for an hour, and then we go away. But in the meantime, whether you're in the theatre or on a film set or whatever you're doing, everything else is still going on. Yeah. Everything's been planned. It's been being planned for a year before you get there, and it's going to continue to be worked on a year after you leave or whatever, so it's been fantastic for me to have some exposure to that side of the, because it's given me a much stronger sense of perspective about what I've got myself into, effectively.
Absolutely.
But I really enjoy it, even on the worst days, because this is what I chose to do, and
It's all your own fault.
It's all my fault.
You brought this on yourself, essentially.
Yeah, no one forced me into any of this.
Paul, you never been compelled to become producer, director, or anything on that side? I feel like you've stuck to acting pretty much your
Director,
whole life.
yeah, I don't like the sound of producing very much, but I probably, I don't know, you got much more of a sort of applied brain. I just couldn't do it. I'd fall out too easily with people. I think I'd just get exasperated. Directing, I've directed a few times and I really enjoy it. I love, directing actors. I really enjoy. Yeah, so that's something I could do, but not producing. I don't think. You got to be a bit hard.
Yeah.
Hard nosed. I'm not. I'm too soft.
You're known a lot, Paul, for your voiceover work and stuff like that.
Long may it continue.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the pipes for it, may I say. How did that change with COVID, like recording from home and stuff? Do you record a lot of stuff from home now, or do you have to go into a studio?
Mostly from home, yeah. When we do Big Finish, there's a choice. At least I have a choice. Some actors maybe not, but I can go into the studio. But now we've built something in the house. Sonny's brother is a musician, and there's a studio facility at the top of the house anyway, which we've been using particularly since COVID. And of course now the tech, really, you can set up pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
But it works. I do that from home, and I like it. There's voice work. It's a good thing to be good at.
Yeah.
And it's varied in itself. You can do commercial voiceovers. You can read people's books. There's podcast work. Long and short form things. I just like it. I don't know. Maybe it's just having the unusual skills that it takes to do it. You just being able to do something quickly. Sight read things quickly, just like I say, just not everyone can do that.
No.
And get something in, get something workable in really quickly. Because it's always really 11th hour things. People, it's always like 10 minutes to go, or a day to go, or something's about to air, and they put a voice on right at the end.
Yeah.
So you need to be quick at doing that, and if you're not, someone else will get the gig. Kind of thing.
Being skilled and being quick and easy to work.
Yeah, that's
with.
what I mean. That's it. Yeah, really. Anyway, and and it pays, and you can wear your own clothes,
right?
And you don't have to leave the house. It's kind of nice. You do it in your pajamas. I like it. No, but I do. I really enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Do you miss the camaraderie of other actors?
Always,
though?
yeah. There's times, particularly say doing Big Finish. I'm there in the room, and I'm there all in the studio. Yeah, I miss it. Actors are like that. Acting is, you want to be in the room with the gang, don't you? Really. It's the vibe. And COVID was a revelation in that sense, that period anyway. When it all went indoors. Of course, so did the convention scene. Probably that went indoors. And it was an eye-opener, wasn't it? We realised that things needn't stop. We can actually partly still carry on doing these things. But the voice work it's something to get good at, I think. If you're an actor, it's something else that you can, that you can do.
I listened to two of the series, the recent ones. I listened to Real Dictators. It's great listening about the worst people in history.
Who knew there were so many dictators?
There's terrible people.
And you know what? We ain't even scratched the surface, apparently. And there's new ones coming up all the time.
I know.
Right, folks, I'm just saying.
Spoilers. There's more dictators to come.
Yeah, January. Spoilers. But, who knew? It's incredible. Yeah, we're just doing Mussolini now. We're getting to Mussolini.
Oh, looking forward to Mussolini.
It's
great.
I kind of like it because, and I read these history books for this friend of mine, Frank McDonough. He's a history prof. He's the Third Reich historian. He writes the textbooks on that period, Weimar and the Third Reich. So I've done his Gestapo book, and next year is his Holocaust book, and we did the big histories. And sometimes it kind of... he sends me the reviews of these books, and they nearly all say similar things, about my work in them. That it kind of... It's okay, to hearing all this horror. And Frank writes these the lists of all the... he's a proper historian.
Yeah.
So like material stuff. And they say, but Paul somehow manages to kind of soften it by just by the tone of his voice, kind of thing.
Those days must be draining for you. I can recall being in the house, sometimes being in the house, and they'd come down from a recording
because me and Joe, Sonny's brother, who produces them, he sits there engineering them. Yes, and they're long hours. The big books, that's a 12-hour day. It might take a couple of weeks to do it. We need a drink after
it's
some
serious
of those days,
history as well. So it's dates and numbers and people and information.
I mean, I can laugh about it, but some days it ain't funny,
I know. Like the one that really hit me was you did one for the 80th anniversary of D-Day.
Yeah.
And the one episode where you brought your brother,
Stephen. Yeah.
Because your dad, of course, was on Gold Beach on D-Day.
Yeah.
It was a very personal experience.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
I think it was. Well, I know for Stephen, it was really. He said he just about got through it. Well, you listen to it. My dad died 40 years ago when we were younger, but he told Stephen a lot of things on his deathbed. Mm-hmm. Stephen mentioned that in the podcast, and he describes, and Stephen since, and in the interim, has become an author himself. Mm-hmm. And he's written about this thing, but he's collected a lot of the information. But it was touching, wasn't it? Stephen came in on that one for that one episode, and really the point being, again, like a lot of those big histories, particularly the military histories, where a day like that where you might get 1 million boys taking part in these landings and everything, but you can't tell the story of all of them. So sometimes it works to reduce the story to a single person, and then you sort of it's touching, it's poignant. You extrapolate out from that, and that on that one happens to be our dad as a 20-year-old. Our dad landed with the Brits on the early morning on the 6th of June. He was a naval commando, and he lasted, we think, about 3 hours. Until he was evacuated, he was badly injured, but it was great, So that was, and now we're doing the Titanic ones where there's a series of 16 about again very detailed about the Titanic story, and of course there was a McGann on the Titanic, so there's gonna be a similar. That's our great uncle.
Oh wow,
that's my dad's uncle, right. Jimmy, and he survived. I'm just warning you. So that's going to be. So that's going to be a similar.
Wait, when's that one coming out?
I'm doing.
Is it from Noiser Productions as well?
That's Noiser too. Yeah, I've done the first 2, and then when I go home Tuesday morning, I'll start on the next couple of episodes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Jimmy gets his own episode. Like my dad did on.
Right.
Yeah, there was a McGann everywhere, folks.
I'm just going to say, there's every podcast.
Open any history book, and look carefully at the photographs. There'll be a McGann in the background.
There's every podcast
like a Zelig, like some Zelig figure.
Yeah.
At all the big doos. Yeah, there he is.
Every podcast you do has to revolve around some McGann and family history.
Yeah,
essentially.
but it can't. Yeah. Stephen, he was making me laugh one year. He said, we were looking at the Irish ancestors. Because we came from famine immigrants in the 1840s. They came over to Liverpool. That's why we're in Liverpool. But Eugene McGann, who's our great whatever, when they came over. But Stephen found out that Eugene, who had a family, he had 4 children. They'd already been in New York. Right, we found this out.
Really?
And 2 of his daughters had been born in 5 Points, New York. And then for some reason, which we don't know still to this day, they went back to Ireland, and then the famine happened. So Stephen's going, so 5 Points, New York? That's like gangs in New York. He's going like, we got like D-Day sewn up now, like gangs in New York. There was a McGann everywhere. He's like, there's McGanns everywhere you look. It's like, all these like epic pictures. There you go. Saving Private Ryan, there's a McGann in the background.
That's what it is.
Don't look now. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
There is one detail from that you will remember from hearing the podcast episode, but I think we maybe should tell it because it's just my favourite part of that story.
What's that?
The only reason us 2 are sitting here right now is because of a clerical error made by a nurse.
Oh, that's right.
Do you want to tell that
No,
story?
you tell it.
So my granddad gets injured. He gets a grenade thrown at him.
He was given the last rites, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. And we went there recently because to try and find the spot, because one of the details was that he remembers Canadians. He remembers it being treated by Canadian medics. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he finds himself on a hospital ship, and instead of sending him to Liverpool, they send him to Leicester. It's Leicester, right? And he's in a hospital wing in Leicester, and he finds himself part of trials for penicillin. The first trials for the first military clinical trials for penicillin, they were testing out on these boys who'd been shot and blown up at D-Day, and it saved his life. He had 50 shrapnel wounds up his side, some in his abdomen. You shouldn't walk away from that. But my uncle in the episode tells the story of his dad, waking up on this hospital.
There were
ward.
There were 4 hospitals designated for these for the stock that they had of penicillin.
Yeah.
And he ends up in one of them, and he remembers being in this ward with other lads, and they were looking at each other's wounds over that day, and the next day they'd been treated with penicillin, and of course, and they're healing. Right, I mean, in any other age, they were dead people.
Yeah.
Like in World War I, you get an abdominal wound.
Right.
You might survive the wound, but the gas gangrene will kill you. And now these lads were watching each other recover, and they realised that they were in the presence of something miraculous.
Right.
And because the Allies had penicillin, and they'd sent quite a lot of the people into the field with it. It was the first time it ever happened. Because it was secret during the war and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's.
And they also had no resistance to it because it had never been.
That's right. There was no. That's right. And if you think that was 1944, now here we are in 2024. So that 80 years is the whole arc of the age of penicillin. And now, of course, people are already, resistant, and there's problems now. I'm sure enough for this century. We're almost at the end of the arc, but these people, these boys, and my dad was one of them. Were completely open to it, so they healed them. They healed quickly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be talking to someone else.
Right.
Yeah, genuinely, whoever that was that filled the form in wrong and sent him to Leicester and not Liverpool is probably the reason he survived.
My dad swore to me that he was off his head, because he said every Canadian medic that found him, or he was in and out of consciousness, you're bleeding out, would pump him full of morphine to save, just to so he'd be painless. So when someone says, "Where are you from, soldier?" You said Liverpool. He said, "I thought I said Liverpool. It just came out like Leicester, right, with the morphine." Right? So they sent me to Leicester. Anyway, that was his story. Yeah. Anyway, that's why we're here.
Yeah. Penicillin. Yeah, absolutely.
Penicillin, folks.
Penicillin, everybody.
Yeah.
Discovered by a Canadian, not a Canadian.
Antibiotics, yeah. Get them while you can.
We could be talking to Liam Cunningham right now as the 8th Doctor if
Exactly.
didn't make it.
Liam Cunningham, he's a wonderful actor.
He was up for your role, I believe.
remember that. Yeah.
Do you remember, Tony Chatterley, I think, auditioned? There were lots of people auditioning.
Yeah, my brother Mark auditioned. There are hundreds of people auditioned.
I figured we'd talk about Doctor Who for a little bit during this panel, but
hundreds of people auditioned.
Did you find out after the fact who had auditioned, or did you know while you were going for it?
Because it was I went to the place you audition, and you'll get a slot, and you see someone leaving, and someone's coming in after you. Yeah, hundreds. Everybody of a certain age. Right. Hundreds of us, and I got the gig. I don't know how it happened.
Was it the hair? Because we've seen your audition tape.
I think it was the hair. It was the hair. It was the hair that I'd had.
Yeah.
Hair here. It was the hair that I'd had in a show that I did with my brothers. Yeah, that Phil Siegel watched and saw and said that was it. That's it. That's how you get Doctor Who. It's the hair. It's a hair thing. Like this long hair.
McCoy says the hat. It's the hair for you.
Even McCoy had the hair.
Yeah, that's
back
it.
in the day. Have you seen pictures of McCoy with long hair?
It's got a big.
Looks faintly scary, actually. Like something off the side of a cathedral. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Looks like you should have boiling oil coming out of his mouth. Anyway, don't tell him I said that.
We've talked a little bit about the industry today. What is your feeling about the industry? Because I feel like the strikes and kind of like the streaming, a bit of a crash. There's a bit of a course correction, I think. I think the blank check phase of approving series is kind of maybe fading down a bit. What's the feeling in the industry when it comes to getting jobs and good acting jobs in the industry?
Because first things, I've been an actor now 40 odd years. It's never stayed the same. the industry I came into was like the last knockings of something that had been there in the 60s and 70s and quickly became something else in the 80s. It never stays the same. Technology usually sees to that. Format changes, the way just companies change, the expectation. Theatre tends to stay more or less the same. Because it just is. But even like we were saying just now, now the little things can be mic'd, and now you can shoot things in theatre, whereas you couldn't before. Lightweight cameras have changed that aspect of things. I think to come into, I don't know, what's the short story? I suppose it's difficult if you were starting out as an actor now, really, to have any like an overall grasp of what it might look like in 10 years. So it's difficult to have any practical ambition. You don't know what you're going to get hired for. You don't know what you're going to really end up doing. And that's, I suppose, that's always been the way.
I mean, it prevents you from being satisfied, going back to the beginning of this
Well,
conversation.
exactly right. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, and for anyone, if there's any young people that are thinking about being actors, it's that's one of the things that hasn't changed, and it's one of the things that if you want to be a professional actor, anywhere in the world, there's a few things you have to park in order to get along, and it's nearly all to do with yourself. You got to get out of your own way to do it. It ain't about you. And if you think that, the first thing, for example, like a simple example, is the first thing that you realise when you become a professional is how many lists you're on. That's it. Like we were just saying, Doctor Who, they send 100 people, 300 people to audition for.
Right.
You're on a bunch of lists of people your age, your height, your colouring. That's it.
Right.
So if you may have thought of your parents. Your parents may even have told you you were kind of exceptional or unique or something.
Yeah.
Just park all that.
Right.
And what's more, the people that are on those lists, particularly for young actors, and you go to the place where the auditions take place, you see someone coming out who's on your list. They're going to end up becoming your friends. Because down the years, because they're also your rivals for things.
Yep.
And that's when you realise, the next thing that you should realise is that it's all about being available. So like in my case, it was like, Ian Glenn, the actor Ian Glenn, if I say Ian Glenn, do you know who that is?
Game of Thrones.
Also
in Doctor Who.
Like he was on my list, right? So he's one of my rivals. He always has been. So we just laugh about it.
Right.
Every time I go to somewhere, there's Ian. He's leaving or he's just about to arrive. So, there'll be 5 or 6 people, salient people in your life, and you'll always see them. And basically, if they ain't around or if they ain't available or if Ian Glenn's busy, I'll get the gig. And vice versa. That's how showbiz works.
Right.
So like I say, it takes out any idea that, oh yeah, I got it because I deserved it. I got it because I did. No, you got it because you were around. That's it. And so in a way, that means then you can work in the right spirit. And you can adjust your expectations. And what's more, even sometimes when there are reverses, that's not your fault either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then you can sort of hopefully develop a kind of healthy attitude to it. Even when it goes really, really well. It's not because you're fantastic. Generally, well, you might be fantastic. Right. And there are some fantastic people. I think of Billie Piper, like, for example, Billie Piper, every time she's fantastic in something, it's because she's fantastic.
Right.
She drives things that she's in. She's a very special actor. She's the best of all of us, probably. But for the rest of us, the mere mortals, sometimes in your life, you'll end up, if you stick around long enough, you'll end up in good things. Like this, or like in my case, like in Whistle, and things that people still watch years later.
Yep.
And that's kind of great, But in a way, it goes on without you or despite you. And if it wasn't you, it would have been somebody else anyway. Because there's lots of actors. Anyway, there you go. So endeth the first lesson. There's no moral to the story.
Right.
Except just stay in it. Stay in it. It's great. Just stick around. Stay curious. Look at McCoy. Still wants to work. Still travels around. No one's going to make you retire either, which is great. That's great.
I think so.
And last week I was 65 years old, okay, I'll take the applause. It's nothing to do with me, but I'll take the applause anyway. It's to do with my parents.
Thanks, penicillin.
Yeah. It's to do with my parents. It's to do with Valentine's Day as well. Just think about it. Anyway, what was I saying? Who cares what I was saying?
65.
Yeah, I was 65, and that's like where we come, that's the age classically that you retire. That's the age, for decades they made you retire.
Yeah.
So I had a little wobble last week thinking, yeah, now I'm old, I'm superannuated. But it's okay. No one's going to make us stop.
Right.
You know, you could still be working in 70, 80 years' time.
Well, I'd like,
I got a
I'd
friend.
like the choice.
You know,
That's what I mean.
Sean Phillips. Sean Phillips is 92, and she's rehearsing a play.
She was in Doctor Who last
Come
year.
on.
Yeah.
She's a great actress. You know, no one's going to make us stop.
Yeah.
Particularly you lot. You ain't going to make us stop. Nothing you say or do is going to make us
Yeah.
stop. Anyway,
One last question. I'll follow up something that Ellie, the 12-year-old, asked you yesterday.
wasn't she great?
Well, she was great.
I'm just saying, in my own defense, I hit that ball,
You
man.
cracked it.
I
It
cracked
went like...
It went over there.
Or to be at least
just
maybe even a 4 to give it some cricket parlance.
Yeah.
And she asked if you read to your children when they were young.
Yeah.
And then you said...
that's when I wished Sonny had been here. That's
and now
a
you
lovely
hear...
question.
So can you confirm, did your dad read to you when you were young? And did he do effort with the voices and all of that?
Yeah, me and my brother were really into Greek myths when we were younger. We still are, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of that. I'm from both my parents, actually. My mum's a writer and and a teacher. So yeah, there was lots of that growing up.
There was a lot of old mythology and...
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
That's
she's
what
also.
you wanted, that's what you
My mum's
liked.
also pagan as well, so there was always a bit of weirdness and
say.
yeah. So it was.
Winnie the Pooh was checked out from the library or something?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I was really into. I was really into Asterix and Obelix.
Oh, yeah.
And I was really into. There was. I always remember there being great, like, I guess, like kids' versions of Greek myths, like illustrated.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I want to hope it's the same here, but in the UK, when I was growing up, there was a real institution of great children's books. It always seems to have been a thing where even people that have no real background in writing or illustration would go, I want to do a children's book.
Right.
Yeah,
So and so we'd
deal.
end up with these fantastic, beautifully illustrated children's versions of stories, which really just begins your kind of journey into storytelling, and then you turn 12 and you start reading Harry Potter and those kind of things. But it all begins with that foundation, And I mean, Harry Potter's a good example because I don't think you ever read Harry Potter to me. I think I read those myself.
Yeah,
because I was the
read about
perfect
that too.
age for that as well.
Right.
In fact, no, that's not true.
And I can't do Stephen Fry's voice.
I remember when the first Harry Potter book came out, we went to Orlando, Florida.
That's right.
And we took the book with us. You may well have read that to us. I can't remember because I would have been a little bit young.
I may have tried to read it to you.
Yeah, because I remember we had it with us.
I can still hear your voices saying to me again. You know that thing that kids do when you read to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And particularly if I didn't get it right, you made me get it right. Kids are a tough crowd.
Yeah.
Always a director,
yeah.
wasn't he? Yep.
Yeah.
He was, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
Well,
anyway.
I'm glad you both have stayed in it throughout your whole careers because you're here with us today. So
Thank you.
Thank you. The family McGann, Paul McGann, Sonny McGann.
Thanks, folks. Read to your children.
I hope you enjoyed that. I really did. I listened to Paul McGann's podcast where he talks about real dictators, which we talked about there. The one on Benedetto Mussolini just came out, part 1 as we record this. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. But then, of course, the thing that he dropped casually in there. There's another one coming on the Titanic, which I am all over. Hearing Paul McGann talk about traumatic events of world history.
That sounds pretty rad, actually.
Is honestly some of the raddest things ever. So I'm really looking forward to that Titanic podcast from Paul McGann. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I really did. I love talking to Paul McGann on stage, wherever that may be. Next week is when it gets really busy. So next week, our regular episode will be on the Sunday as per usual. We'll be talking to Mark Ayres and Kieran Hyman. They worked on The War Games in Color, which of course will air on BBC4 on Monday, December 23rd. of which we had a tiny hand in by dropping in conversation to Chris Hayden, the original film editor, that things are missing. And by the way, I have this original HD film that maybe you'd like. And so he sent it back. So that's our tiny contribution to Doctor Who. You can watch it and everything else that everyone else spent much more time at doing in colorizing the war games on the 23rd. But we'll talk all about that next week. And then later that week, we'll be recording, of course, our review of the war games and Doctor Who prompts, but also, of course, the Doctor Who Christmas special, Joy to the World. Join us on our live stream. We're doing live streams again for this. For whatever new episodes come out, we'll be doing live streams. Thursday, December 26th, Boxing Day for those of us in the Commonwealth. At 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. in the UK. I don't know what time that is in Australia. For those of you who are in Australia and want to tune in, what time is that?
I think I worked it out to 4 a.m. West Coast, 7 a.m. East Coast.
Oh, that's not bad, actually. That's not bad. I think we did.
That's why I pushed for us to have a later start time.
Don't you understand? Yeah. They have to observe the speaking clock day of non-speaking.
That's true.
You are not allowed to speak to any other Australian during that time. I just made this up.
It is a rule. It is a rule in the country. Listen, it seems weird to us, but it's normal to them. So there you go. Links in the show notes anyway. You can sit and wait there for 11 more days for us to be online to talk about Joy to the World. But it's going to be a packed show. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of stuff there. We pushed for the later start time, so maybe Australia, but also we pushed it because we might need that time to watch stuff because it's Christmas. There's things to do at Christmas, family to see and everything else, and meals to eat. So there's a lot of prep time involved in it. So a little later than usual, but a little earlier because our episode that week will be coming out like Thursday or Friday or something like that. So there you go. Join us for that. Join us for the live stream. I haven't done one since we reviewed the end of season 1 here with the Empire of Death. So let's hope we remember how the software works, and you could join us to see if we do or not. So there. That is the end of this episode, everyone. Go away. Let Warren spend his birthday in peace.
Doing nothing.
Exactly.
Cogitating about how Andor and Descendants, The Rise of Red, and Bluey, and Doctor Who all tie together into a massive conspiracy.
We'll see. We'll uncover what Warren has thought about next week on Radio Free Skaro. Until then, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.